Hello, everyone, and welcome to NGF News. My name is Alec, and we have Joshua Cheatham on the line as well. Today, we're going to be having two latest global developments. We're going to be talking about Israel Hamas and how the international community can stop the bloodshed, and we're also going to be talking about India and their crackdown slash raiding homes of Sikh separatists. As a reminder, please follow us on all our social medias, NGF News, as well as visit our website. We have a bunch of blog posts for you all to enjoy reading. So very informative, analysis based. None of that just news only stuff. But we try to make our blog posts more interesting, more enticing for everyone to read. So yeah. First, we're going to start with India continuing to raid homes of the Sikh separatists, and then we'll talk about Israel Hamas because of how much there is to discuss for Israel Hamas. So let's go into the Sikh separatists. So India's National Investigation Agency has conducted raids at 53 different locations across 7 states in India, targeting what they are calling terrorists and gangsters. Some allegedly linked to the Sikh separatist groups. The NIA is what we're going to call them. Seized firearms, ammo, digital devices, and pro raids detaining individuals suspected of having the pro Khalistan that have connections to pro-Khalistan groups, which advocate for a Sikh homeland in the Punjab region of India.
So this has been an interesting development, and obviously we've seen the news in recent weeks about how there was a Sikh man, Canadian man in British Columbia that was murdered, and Justin Trudeau, the president of Canada or the Prime Minister of Canada, stated that these attacks of the murder were linked to India. President Modi has since stated that that is not true, and we have discussed a lot about India in recent weeks because of their, headlines in the international community. This is another one. Modi is trying to create, and this is factual evidence. This is not a claim. This is online everywhere by all scholars that they are trying to create a Hindu-based India, which means that there are no other religions. Now, they're not ethnic cleansing people yet. That's a statement. That is not true. That is not factual evidence yet. But India has been raiding homes. They've raided 53 homes, like you said, across 7 states and union territories. So their goal is to basically create the Hindu state, and there's a large Muslim population within India. So this is creating a little bit of a dilemma between the national community, especially the United States, who's becoming friendlier with India, and also it is creating popularity within India. They're majority Hindu, I think 73%, 70% plus Hindu. And Modi keeps growing in popularity over time. And so this is going to be even more scary in the future because, like I suggested and noted to, we could start seeing potential ethnic cleansing of Muslims in India if they go too far. I'm not saying that they will go too far, but at the moment, what we are seeing is them trying to get rid of what they call Sikh separatists. That could just be just Muslims trying to live.
The exact figure is almost less than the Sikhs make up less than 2% of the Indian population, and Hindus make 98%. But
That's
you
right.
said that it might get to the point of kind of ethnic cleansing, and I think Modi, as as like extreme he is on the situation with the Sikhs, I think he will never resort to kind of ethnic cleansing. But what he will do is always suppress any kind of attempt in having these Sikhs seeking greater autonomy in the region. He will not accept that at any point. He will, as you said, wants an all Hindu population, and he will do it whatever he can to stop the Sikhs from getting um, their own kind of autonomous region. And there hasn't been really an active kind of insurgency from these Sikhs, or they haven't had many kind of. There hasn't been like a violent outbreak, a violent kind of cause, if I do remember. But it's just Modi kind of just trying to suppress and have that not be kind of I think what Modi's trying to do is he's trying to prevent Khalistan from being a thing, because it will affect, um, the way the international community kind of sees India. Now, if they have a group that is seeking autonomy, and it might be used as a bargaining chip for other countries to say, "Hey, we're not going to work with you because you're treating your people wrongly." And Modi, what he's trying to do is he said he's going to be like, "What people? I don't know what you're talking about." He's trying to use that, as he's trying to prevent that being used as kind of, a reason to go against, not working with, Modi. And I'm very surprised that the United States has been very silent on this issue. In a majority of countries, India does not want Khalistan to be in kind of negotiations for anything. So yeah, I'm very surprised at the, international kind of community responses to kind of ignoring, the suppression of the Sikhs, in India. It's very sad.
Yeah, it is very sad for sure, and it's going to cause a lot of dilemmas in the future with a lot of allies that are, especially the Western allies, Europe and the United States. A lot of policy analysts have recently been discussing, and in the foreign affairs I was listening to, how the United States is trying to ignore those political, uh, those political things that are going on within India because they feel like they have a strong relationship and they want to have a strong relationship for security reasons within the South China Sea and Asia. So that is really the most important aspect for the United States right now is the security alliance. And so they're ignoring a lot of the political things that are going on in India, and that is, I think, going to continue to happen.
And I wonder if it's the goal of the United States to get to get security alliances in first, and then kind of deal with, everything else. I'm not sure what strategy the United States is going here, but it'll show to the international community that, people that want to work with India, are not too worried about human lives. And I think the problem with the international community is that we've had a massive disregard, of human lives, and we see these with conflicts just everywhere around the world, where the international community is too focused on geopolitics than kind of a bottom up approach and seeing the human lives lost and whatever it is. It's sad to see that this kind of viewpoint, because I think all countries around the world should approach relations from a bottom up approach. See, okay, what are your root problems? What's going on, within your communities, and then working up. Because the only way you're going to develop two countries is if by people.
Yeah,
People are necessary. Human capital is necessary. You need good lives. You need people living good lives, and you need people that have a lot of access to resources to develop any country. But that's kind of my take, and, I'm very. What I found was interesting was India has accused of some foreign countries harboring Sikh militants, and we saw that in Canada.
yeah,
And the NIA has been trying to, address these Sikh militants living in other countries. And the more I read about that, and it makes me wonder: did Modi actually try to eliminate? Was he actually, unless they proved it by now, that he was involved in the assassination of the Sikh militant in
yeah.
Canada?
I don't know if they're ever going to be able to prove it, but
Deny,
it's
deny, deny.
yeah, tonight. That's exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, I definitely agree with all those points. And I don't know, do you have anything else you want to say, or do you want to move on to the big elephant in the room?
Yeah, I think we should tackle the big elephant in the room. But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so this is, I'm sure, headlines everywhere. Everyone's been watching what's going on, between Israel and Hamas, and the sad, sad bloodshed, that is going on for. I don't even know what we're on. What time is this? How many times has it been? No,
Too many to count. I
lost
mean,
count.
2014,
Yeah,
2021, 2007. I mean, how many?
sad.
Yeah,
It's tragic. Just,
yeah,
but on October 7th, Hamas orchestrated one of the most kind of biggest deception attacks on Israel since, I think it was, they said, Yom Kippur.
yeah,
Yeah, since Yom Kippur, and Israel has been totally left off guard. And the reason Israel has been left off guard is because they never really expected Hamas to attack them. Hamas. orchestrated, planned this attack for 2 years, I think. From what I read, they planned this for 2 years, and they've hid all their capabilities, hitting to hit Israel, which is very impressive. That Hamas kind of basically lied to the international community and to Israel to say we're not ready, we're not going to attack because we don't have the resources, and they've
Yeah,
denied these kind of these kind of allegations that they're going to attack for 2 years. They've hit it, and they've just been smuggling in weapons into the Gaza Strip, preparing for this attack that we saw, and we were seeing breaches through land border breaches. They destroyed the land borders and the walls, and they went into Israel. They went by boat. And what was fascinating was the motorized paragliders. They used motorized paragliders, and then they jumped off and parachuted into Israel, and they infiltrated civilian areas and residential buildings. Um, Israel has responded. They targeted residential building and mosque, which has further escalated the conflict. And both sides are now targeting civilians, which is unbelievable.
it is
It's just
unbelievable.
unbelievable in my mind. It's just they think that they, in order to do damage to each other, just hit civilian targets.
Yeah,
That's the strategy we're at right now.
yeah.
It's crazy.
It's extremely, extremely depressing. And what I'm going to give you is the statistics that we have as of the recording, which is 10/12, October 12th of 2023. So Hamas lost over 2,000 missiles to Israel's Iron Dome. The diversion around the assaults was a concert was a ground invasion which hit concerts and a bunch of other civilian targets, killed over 260. Um, Hamas has captured many civilians, including over 100 hostages held, and 20, I think 7 of those are Americans as of now. There has also been
22,
20, 22.
22 Americans are dead.
Oh, 22 Americans are dead. Yeah, 27 are
Yeah.
still are in hostage
Hmm.
situations. 1,500 Um, Hamas have already been killed. 1,300 Israelis have already been killed. 950 people in Gaza have been killed. And so, like I said, these are statistics just of today, as of October 12th. So these are unfortunately going to get much higher. Israel has mobilized over 300,000 groups to the Gaza border. And so this is going to be a full scale invasion, ground invasion of Gaza. We're going to see, for the second time in 2 years, the second time in 2 years, urban warfare at heat of two very strong armies. I mean, obviously we know Russia, but Israel is very strong, capable military, and so this is going to be a bloodbath, going to be dangerous. The United States is behind Israel, urging them not to kill civilians, but they do, obviously, the international community respects Israel's right to defend itself from this terrorist organization.
Does defending themselves consider just blowing up anything? For urban warfare to work, they have to level buildings in order to get their tanks through, because tanks are not well equipped in urban warfare. It's very hard to get tanks through. So it I, defense defending each other that involves defending one side. So Israel defends their country, and Hamas defending the Gaza Strip entails them having to kill civilians, which is I have no words. Like it's I'm just sad to see this again and again. But I do want to talk about the leader of Hamas and his kind of strategy and how he has been successful. So the leader was the leader of Hamas, Mohammed Deif, I think is how you pronounce it, is Hamas's secretive commander, and he's so secretive that he doesn't come out to meetings. He doesn't meet people. He doesn't. He's very. He's a very low key leader. He doesn't want to meet officials. He doesn't want to meet his troops. He has been in the dark for 2 years, and he successfully masked Hamas's intentions. Um, and they successfully did it through kind of saying like Hamas is focused on economic development in the Gaza Strip. For 2 years, they've said economic development. This is what we're doing, and he called the attack and he did it. So that Israel is on the lookout for Mohammed Deif, but he's so hidden in plain sight that you can't. No one's gonna find him, and if they do, then they kill. Let's say Israel does get to Mohammed Deif. Does that mean Israel's going to stop, or are they going to keep going until they eradicate all of Hamas?
I mean, and so that's yeah, that's a great point. I mean, officials have already ordered a complete siege of Gaza, and
Mm-hmm.
the United States has ordered Eisenhower or the USS Gerald Ford, and they might be sending the USS Eisenhower to the
Right.
Israeli borders on the sea to be potential support in this killing. The international community right now is faced with two ongoing large conflicts at the moment. There's many other sub-conflicts that are going on in the world, which, here in NGF we try to cover, but these are two of the largest ones. These are two grounded nations that are going to have countless amounts of lives. This particular one is a little bit more dangerous in this situation because there's 2 million people in a very small area. And what Russia wants is to take back Ukraine and keep Ukrainian people in it. What Israel seems to want right now is the complete annihilation of Palestinians. That is, and don't. This is not a for sure thing. I do not know exactly what Netanyahu does want, but he has repeatedly and explicitly said that Israel is at war, that we are not going to stop until hostages are let go. And Hamas is a terrorist group. They're not going to let go hostages for no reason. They're not going to just let
Mm-hmm.
go of them for no reason. So the reality is that this war is going to kill countless amounts of civilians. Hamas doesn't want Israel to exist. Israel's tried to negotiate for a long time with the Palestinians, and now they feel that the Palestinians have not gone up and stood up against Hamas. And so, what's the next logical solution? Well, to get rid of them. And so, a lot of the international community is afraid that this is the step that Israel is going to take. They're going to take the drastic measure in just completely annihilating the Gaza Strip and ethnically cleansing uh, Palestinians. That's the fear of the international community. So where does the international community go to step in to make sure that this doesn't happen? And how can we stop the bloodshed in the future?
I think the international community should do the first thing, and then that's addressing Israel's far right government. The issue with the far right government is they've always wanted Israel to. They don't want a Palestinian state. They don't want a two-state solution. As much as Netanyahu said we're going to look into a two-state solution, there was never any progress throughout his presidency. I don't remember once. And the only time the two-state solution was brought up was during normalization talks with Saudi Arabia, where Netanyahu said he will look into it, and he offered no additional comments on that. So the first step to addressing the bloodshed is to address Israel's far right government, because what breeds extremism is extremism on the other side. So extremism on the left will be bred by extremism on the far right, and vice versa, of course. But I think because we can't negotiate with Hamas, they will never listen to the West. But we do have a chance at having Netanyahu come to the discussion board and saying, "Listen, we understand you're pissed, but we still need to go forward with this two-state solution." I mean, even before this all happened, the Gaza Strip was basically chokehold was held chokehold from water, from food, and medical supplies before even Hamas attacked Israel. And these kind of like and these blockades, these chokeholds on the Gaza Strip, is what stems issues, and this what stems Hamas wanting to destroy Israel. And but that's not also to address Iran, which Iran also funds. They have denied. Iran has denied that they've been involved with the attack in Israel, but it's very clear that they have supplied them weapons and the means to get this done. It's just where would Hamas get these kind of weapons? So Iran, which backs Hamas, also needs to be addressed in this case, of course, in order to chokehold Hamas and to cut off their supplies, to put them back. But with Netanyahu, he doesn't want to. Well, he is going to address Hamas, but he's going to go further than that, and that's going to cause more problems within the Middle East should he continue to try to prevent Palestine from now being its own state. And there's been, since Israel was first drawn up, the push against the Palestinians has always been continuous, and they pushed them out over time. And I've seen this graphic where you see Israel and then the formation of Israel and then the Palestinians, and how they're kind of like and how the borders have shifted over time. But that's not to say that we need to also talk with the Palestinians as well. I'm a big believer in not picking sides, and I, as hard it is in a polarized world that we live in today. I think we need more. We need more people who are willing to let go of their emotions and look at the solution, look at the problem itself, and get to the solution to the problem without letting emotions take place.
And that's going to be a very difficult issue. And to see what the international community is going to do, there's a lot of you're right. The first thing they have to do is address Netanyahu. He has been very he's been a big issue or problem in finding a peaceful full solution. His militarization of Israel has, stark fears within the Palestinians, especially over in the West Bank, because the West Bank has checkpoints. And so what the Gaza are seeing with the Palestinian Authority, they are seeing a weak government that's not able to protect Palestinians. So the Hamas obviously took advantage of that in 2007 when they came into power, and since then have been in power.
Mhm.
And they continue to see that the Gaza Strip does not have checkpoints, Israeli checkpoints. It is separated between a wall. They leave them to what they want to do in Palestine, and the Israelis do their thing over on the Israeli border. Now, what the international community can do at the moment is not much. All they have to do is watch right now and make sure that Israel does not go too far. Because the first question, the first thing is that Hamas is a terrorist organization. They committed atrocities. They have killed and cut the heads off of women and children. They have killed over 200 civilians. They have hundreds in hostage. They are to blame for this immediate attack and this immediate war, and Israel has the
Of
war right
course.
to respond. That's A. But
Hmm.
B, Israel has done bad, many bad things over the past decades to the Gaza Strip, including uh, terrorizing citizens and jailing citizens in the Gaza Strip and especially the West Bank for no reason. Well, there's, like you said, two sides to this story, and both have not come to the table to create a solution. Now, I want to look at a different angle here. You brought up Iran. Now, Saudi Arabia and Iran had created, just reestablished diplomatic ties. Iran has said that we have not given any money, and we're not aware that Hamas are going to plan this attack. Most intelligence has said, and most officials have said that this is true, that Iran has had no idea, and Iran has no affiliation. But the relationship with Saudi Arabia and Iran is important because of their established diplomatic ties. Saudi Arabia trying to create normalizations between the Middle East and Israel, this Saudi Arabia has a unique position to have negotiations with Iran, who's going to negotiate with Hamas to potentially have a stand down, a ceasefire, and if we can negotiate with Israel to have a ceasefire, maybe, just maybe, renegotiations of a two-state solution or a potential any solution can come to the table. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with that, and I think we should look beyond the two-state solution. I think we should look at, this might sound crazy, right? But we should look at a three-state solution. And we had this discussion before, but I want to bring it up for the viewers. A three-state solution would entail Israel, Palestine, and then Jerusalem as its own entity. What this means is Jerusalem, which it lies between the West Bank and Israel, have both religious claims to Islam and to the Jews as well. Having this as its own kind of entity, similar, almost like the Vatican, right? But there is no leader. It is a international. I wouldn't say international territory. It'd be its own kind of state, to which both Jews and Muslims can practice because they lay claim to it,
Call it
and it'd be
religious
a sort of
territory.
shared. It'd be a religious territory, correct? And I think something like this would be essential to bring up. I don't know how realistic the solution is, but I think it would be good to have, as you said, should there be a ceasefire negotiation, be be brought up, in my opinion.
No, and that's a great point because, like I said, Saudi Arabia is in a very unique position where they have diplomatic ties, and they were also trying to create diplomatic ties between Israel. So what again, they can have Iran negotiate with Hamas in the West Bank because the Palestinian Authority is not a problem. The United States, Israel, and the Palestinian Authority have created a mutual agreement. Now, Israel needs to back off a little bit and stop having checkpoints and harassing citizens.
Right.
So that's part of the discussion needs to be happen. But so that I think could be a very valuable solution. Problem is getting rid of Hamas. Hamas is a very large terrorist organization, and they have control over the Gaza Strip. So that's going to be the biggest issue. So Iran is going to honestly and unfortunately be a key player in negotiations if they want to have a ceasefire and stop the violence because they are the ones that have the closest relationship with Hamas. Uh, because the only other place that's a close relationship is Hezbollah, and we don't want not negotiate with terrorists, so that's not going to happen. And so Iran has a very unique position, and Saudi Arabia have a unique position. Problem is that Netanyahu again go back to his far right government. He's so militarized, and he does not want to negotiate at all anymore. He said, you can read this I think on Reuters or BBC. He said that we have negotiated for years. Now is the time that we're going to war because we can't negotiate with them anymore. And that's
But what
paraphrasing.
is he negotiated in the first
Yeah,
place?
that's
It blows my
yeah.
what
He has specifically.
it blows my
He
mind.
hasn't specifically, but prior leaders have. So his view is that negotiations have happened. They haven't they haven't worked. So now when terrorist attack happens, now we have to basically do it our way and use military force. And so this is going to be very difficult, but getting all parties to the table, the Palestinian Authority, Hamas, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the United States, the United Kingdom, I would even argue bringing China to the table in this regard, just to have someone who's kind of, I'm going to use the word neutral, lightly, but I'm going to use
Mhm.
the word neutral, to maybe discuss a solution and a potential ceasefire, but that's not going to happen for months, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, we need an immediate discussion, almost like an emergency meeting between these two countries. And Middle East is it has been relatively peaceful, but we need a fully peaceful Middle East to be. It's an integral part for globalization, a peaceful Middle East. And with Israel Palestine, this will throw off relations in the Middle East, and it will throw off kind of the path towards globalization as well, because now you'll have uh, this idea of religious divide. It will be the Muslims versus the West, and this is unacceptable. But I do want to go back on what you say. You repeat what you said about the negotiating part.
Like with Iran and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, there was something. Oh, having Israel, right? Having Israel at the talk would be very difficult. And I think what we should do is threaten them with isolation, right? And it's an extreme one, right? It's very extreme. But here's the thing: Netanyahu won't stop, and he's confusing. He's confusing Hamas with Palestine, with Palestinians. He sees this as a power grab opportunity, not just to eliminate Hamas, but to also address the Palestinian question and take as much territory as possible to make it Israel. So there needs to be some sort of punishment to say, listen, you need to stop confusing Hamas with innocent Palestinians. And to say, if you do not come to these negotiating terms, then this will happen. And we will bar you from support, from military support. And what really annoys me is these countries that are coming out in solidarity with Israel, which I get, diplomatically I get. But is it they're not seeing the bigger picture, which is peace in the entirety of the Middle East. They are seeing an Israel-Palestine issue. They're not seeing a Middle Eastern um, they're not seeing Middle Eastern peace. They're not seeing globalization. There are there were only it was only Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar that have come out as almost neutral, wanting because they want a peaceful Middle East, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. And the argument that Israel has done no wrong, uh, or is not even in any wrong here, I think is false. Uh, yes, we always condemn acts of terrorism, like we said. It is horrible what Hamas has done, but you're right that Hamas is not Palestine. They're not. They're not the Palestinian people. They're two different things.
They're not an accurate
Yeah,
representation. Yeah.
exactly. And so what Israel, I think, should focus on is eliminating Hamas. Go in, take out the organization top leaders, do some damage, and then go back to the negotiation table with new leaders in Palestine. Don't overcommit. And the United States needs to really focus on that. Blinken, when he met with Netanyahu today, I believe, it was either today or yesterday, uh, discussed with him that you cannot go too far. If you start to continue harming civilians, we're not going to. I don't think he said we're not going to support you, but he gave the notions, and the international community needs to do the
Mhm.
same because if we keep pushing Israel too far, Palestinians will cease to exist, and that is an issue that we need to understand.
Yeah. I think that's about
Yeah.
it for me on my end. If you have anything
Uh,
else to
no,
add,
I do not.
but
But here at NGF, what we're going to say is that we condemn any and all acts of violence. What happens to the civilians of Israel by Hamas was tragic. What's happened over the past hundreds of years has been tragic in this area, and we just hope that a solution can be made.
I fully agree with your statement. But other than that, there will be a weekly watch article coming out on this. We encourage you all to read it and offer us feedback on all articles. Please provide us feedback on our social medias wherever you want to reach out to contact us. So, but thank you all for listening into this week's latest global developments, and we'll see you in the next one.